How is it, bro?
Oh yeah, what's up?
You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I know you from another server.
Wait, who's speaking?
This is Gabe.
Gabe. Is this Gabe Pharisee?
Yeah,
Gabe, what's up, man?
nothing.
So, Sly, you a Sunni?
Yep.
Yeah, he's Salafi.
Oh, okay.
That will be correct, indeed, yes.
Now, do you want to ask anything, or should I just start asking a lot?
Oh, you can go ahead and start asking. I'm fine with that.
Would you define the attributes of Allah as being real?
As being real?
Yeah, I mean like hands of Allah and feet of Allah and face
I
of
would
Allah
affirm
and
their
eyes of Allah.
existence. Yeah, I would affirm their existence.
As being, but they're real. I mean, you wouldn't say they're metaphorical.
You mean like physical,
No.
right? Is that what you're asking, Masihi?
Yeah, I mean physical, because again, if they're really real, then they obviously must be physical by definition.
When it comes to Aqidah, you need to be very, very specific, yeah? Because there are things that get interloped easily. Like, for example, if you say, do you believe that they're real? That could fall under 10 different standards.
Do you believe that they're physical?
Yeah, I would say that they are physical. They are existent.
But yeah, but wouldn't they occupy space if they're real hands? Otherwise, if they're not real, if you say they're not physical, then they cannot be defined as being real hands in a real hands.
No, not necessarily. You pre-assume that it is necessary for God's hands or God's feet or God's face to contain a space based off empirical observation that you have of
Yeah,
humans.
because we know what a hand is based on empirical observation.
I never claimed what his hand looks like. I don't know why you're trying to suggest that his hand.
Yeah,
looks like
I know, but
We didn't say. Yeah.
yeah.
We didn't say you claimed it. We're just asking.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that when this is being made, there's a common misconception that they think we say hand as in like human hand. Yeah, we're not.
No. We know that. We know that you say that he has a hand, but not like our hand, not a human hand.
Yeah.
But that's
We
not.
don't
my
affirm.
point.
We don't affirm what its physicality is like. We affirm that they are existent. We affirm that there are hands. We affirm that there is a face. We affirm that there is feet. We don't affirm what they look like or where they're in place or all these things, right?
But you affirm that they're physical, though, right?
I affirm that they're real, existent.
So we're asking, do you affirm that they're physical attribute? Like, are they physical, like tangible, physical attributes?
So when you say physical, I would like you to define that term even further. If you could elaborate, that would be nice.
Like what Neda is trying to say is basically that do you believe that they're real and real hands in the sense that they are obviously hands, they exist physically. That's what she's trying to say.
As in made of matter?
No, made of matter. Again, I don't know why you're pre-assuming matter in this situation.
Because is that what you mean? Like as in made of matter, or?
No. So the Athari Aqidah, we just affirm the following.
No, not you. I was asking if that's what.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to find out.
Oh, okay. Nada's that.
No,
okay.
I'm an
okay.
If they're affirmed in in a literal sense, not metaphorical, but they're literal physical hands.
Yeah. So what we would say is that there are literal hands. They are this. We don't affirm any nature of its physicality. We say they are literal hands. They are literal feet. They are literal face. Yeah. But we don't affirm anything else other than that. When you guys bring up the space thing and the matter thing, this is a matter of empirical observation, I believe. I don't think it has anything to do with the comparison.
Yeah, but
with humans.
Can I interject? But if it's like either you hold that the divine attributes are literal or they're not real, like otherwise you're Ash'ari and you don't obviously you reject that. So if you say that he has real hands, then obviously by definition they would have to be physical hands because we know what a hand is based on empirical observation. We can't just leave it that and say, oh, he has a hand, but we don't know what it is. We can't just leave it at that. We have to. It's either a real hand in the sense that it's a physical hand.
Yeah, I mean, these phrases, these analogies become meaningless if it's not a hand like we think of a hand. What other kind of hand is there? Well, we don't know. Well, then what does that even mean?
So So okay, so I get where you guys are coming from, but the way that it is described is the following. Yeah. It's not Ash'ari Aqidah to say this, because Ash'ari Aqidah take an entirely different stance. Yeah. And I'll explain the Ash'ari Aqidah in a momentarily. But
We don't need
in
the Ash'ari Aqidah to explain. We know what it is.
in
Just want to
terms,
talk about yours.
in terms, yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure at least someone here made a big mistake by saying, well, then you would be Ash'ari if you believe this, which is just basically
Yeah,
not
they
true.
believe it's metaphorical. They don't
Yeah.
believe it's true.
So, when we say that, okay, well, we don't affirm its physicality, or we don't affirm what it looks like, or we don't affirm its nature, it's mainly because it's stuff that is not observant to us. So Muslims are usually rationalists. Yeah, we're not empiricists. So when we argue on the basis of things like this, we assume that genuine knowledge is good. So whatever is presented in the Quranic narrative, we just accept. For example, Surah Al-Imran, verse 7.
So how does he have hands if there's nothing like Allah?
I'll explain. I'm explaining the entire thing. I gotta ask the same question like 6 times. So in Surah Al-Imran, verse 7, it essentially tells us that with things like this, we're supposed to accept them at face value, regardless of what. So we just accept it at face value, and at the same time, the narrative is applied that nothing is like him. ليس كمثله شيء. So we cannot claim to compare, and you cannot compare empirical evidence that we see based off observation of what our hand looks like, or what an animal's hand looks like, or etc., and try to interlope that with something that we cannot.
Okay,
see.
so they're not analogies.
Define analogies.
Well, you're saying that they're not similar things, so you're not supposed to make an analogy between God or Allah as the judge, Allah as merciful, Allah as just, right, and the created concepts of those things. There's no
Well,
analogy.
No, so these things have a separation in Arabic. Yeah. So it's not like the way you think when we say God is merciful is just that one attribute. So in the Arabic language, these two things are separate. So when I say the merciful, that's our royal the. It's an attribute that only applies to one being. That being that gets applied to, it's different from the merciful that we know. Yeah. Like I'll
Yeah, I
give you
understand that, right? So that would be an analogy, right? So it's not univocal; it's analogical. There's a similarity, but it's different, right? Or not?
Yeah. So I would say it's similar in the sense of what in terms of it being a hand, but I would say it's different in the essence that we don't know.
Okay, well that makes no sense, right? So it's similar. So there's something that matches up between the two, but it's different in the sense that there's no comparison. That's
No,
because
so
hold on, at every point in the system, and every time we have this debate with somebody, two things are being said at the same time. On the one hand, something that's being said is an analogy, and I don't care how you define the hand; you can define it whatever way you want. Any of the concepts that you come up with, whether it's justice or mercy or the eyes of Allah, whatever, those are in your mind created concepts, correct?
not the ones attributes that are given to God.
No, the attribute that's in your mind right now. So you have the uncreated in your head right now, or your thoughts uncreated.
So yeah, so when I don't have the uncreated in mind.
Okay, so the concepts are created, correct?
The concepts are not. It's different. Yeah.
The concept in your mind is uncreated.
No, because there is an uncreated concept and a created concept as well.
Right, and exactly. So is there any similarity between those two?
Yeah, like I said, there wouldn't be a similarity.
Wait a minute, you said that there was.
No, so I'm saying in the similarity in the terms that we are given. So when you say something like hand, yeah, to us, what we think of hand, we think of the hand that we have. You take a look at your hand.
Yeah, obviously.
It's a hand.
What other hands are there?
But in terms of, and when he says hand, you would understand it in the essence of the context that it's being given. So if he
that's not answering the objection though, because the objection is that there's nothing similar. No, that there's nothing similar to Allah, right? Is this Surah 42?
Bear with me for a second, J. Dyer. Bear with me for a second.
You're just restating the same thing over. I want an answer to how both of those things are true.
Well, every time I'm in the middle of explaining, I keep getting cut off. Well, if you
Because you just keep stating the same thing over, and it's not an explanation.
Yeah, Sly, you're kind of in a loop there.
It's not a loop if you let me finish, right? I understand that.
Okay, go.
Giant
Go. We're waiting.
I'm on the understanding here that I'd come and be able to present the point clearly.
Okay, go.
So as what was being said is the following. So when you say that it is a concept that is created here, it is inherently different from the uncreated. The hand that we talk to in terms of similarity is, I say, in the context of explanation. So when God says that he has the sun and the moon in his hands, for example, we understand that to mean, okay, they are in his hands. The similarity here in the context of explanation, that you can absorb what is being said. Other than that, it doesn't go any further.
I don't know what you're talking about. Absorb what is being said. So there's a conceptual similarity that's only in the mind, right? Is that what you're saying?
So, yeah.
Okay, is that created? The conceptual similarity, is it created?
Let me just clarify. I would like to clarify. Not a conceptual similarity, no. It's a contextual similarity.
Okay, what does that mean, a contextual similarity?
So in the essence that you understand, I can hold something. God is explaining that he can too.
That still relies on an analogy.
He can hold it with his hand, though.
This is okay. Look, let's not use hand because this is. Let's use the idea of justice, right? God is just. Okay, is there a similarity between human justice and divine justice?
No.
So when it says Allah is just, what does that mean?
So when it says Allah is just, it's talking about the just. It's a different attribute.
Okay, so, and so if there's no similarity, then you don't need, then that word has no meaning. You know nothing about Allah because there's no similarity between the created and the uncreated, right?
No, because that stems from empirical understanding. I told you at the beginning, we're all rationalistic.
That doesn't make any sense. Rationalist. You're not a rationalist when you're appealing to empirical objects to make an analogy, and you're saying that it's not empirical anymore when it applies to Allah.
No. So,
how does the sentence Allah is just make any sense if the sentence itself is created, the concept is created, which you all admitted, and then the object that it's referring to has no similarity?
I didn't say the concept is created. I said I would like to clarify that, and I said there's the concepts. There are two types of concepts. There's an uncreated concept.
Okay, is there a similarity between the uncreated concept of justice and the created concept of justice?
Like I said, no.
Then you don't know about Allah, and all the statements make no sense. They don't match up to anything.
No, not necessarily. Again, you're reaching a conclusion based off just empirically. I'm explaining
that's not an empirical argument.
Let me.
It's not an empirical argument.
It's
an argument about the claims themselves. They're two different. They're two contradictory claims.
I'd appreciate if I could still finish. Yeah.
But this is what you did last time. It's the last. You've been here, right?
Well, excuse me.
Have you been here before?
I've been here before, and I got back.
Yeah, and this is what happened where you argue about debating because you don't answer the questions.
No, I am trying to answer the question. I just keep getting interrupted. I was actually
because you don't answer the question. This is what you did last time on John 17.
I was actually under the precedent
when you came in here to talk about John 17, you don't answer the question. You just restate things.
I wasn't here to talk about John 17. I don't know where you're getting that from. But the last time I was been here, I didn't even enter a VC. I was bad. But in terms of what I came here for, I was told by your friend Masihi here, who was around.
Okay, so your argument is that. Hold on, look. Let's go back.
Just let me finish, please, Jihadist.
Sly, that's a lot of talking, man. Just get to the point.
You're not finishing anything because you're not making an argument. You just keep restating what you think. It's not an argument.
Because I'm explaining it in this. I'm trying to.
It's not an explanation.
It's not something that is conceivable. What you're suggesting is something that is.
Then there's no analogy. You said that there's an analogy and that there's no analogy. That's the contradiction.
No, it's not a contradiction. I explained there's a fine.
How is it not a contradiction?
Okay, I told you there's a fine thin line between the two. There's only a contextual connection. Other than that,
how is that an explanation? How is contextual connection, quote unquote, explain how there is and is not an analogy? Both of those things can't be true at the same time.
Yes, yes, they can. Where'd you get that presupposition from?
Because
You're free
that's
assuming
a that's
because-
a two states of affairs that negate each other
Jay,
cannot be true at the
Jay,
same time. That's
Jay.
a basic contradiction.
Jay, you just presupposed that because you don't-
I'm not presupposing anything. I'm looking at your claims.
No, no.
They're not my presuppositions. They're your claims.
No, you did make a presupposition based off the conclusion that you said that my claim was false over. You said, and I quote, that it doesn't make any sense. It needs to be a contradiction because it's either this and this. This is already two issues that I see. First of all,
Yeah,
there's a
because
false
you've
one.
made two claims. You said there's an analogy and there's not an analogy. Which
Right,
is it?
right.
Both
And
of
I
those
said-
things cannot be true at once.
Yeah, because it's a fine thin line, right? You're subjecting something that is empirical, something that is rational.
It has
You are
nothing to do
suggesting
with
that because
empirical
you cannot
claims.
see
I'm
it.
looking at your system. I'm not
You're
making
Jay,
an
you're
argument
suggesting
about
that because you
empirical
cannot
claims.
see it. You're suggesting that because you cannot see it.
That's not the argument. No.
Therefore,
You're not
therefore,
you're not listening to the argument. The argument has nothing to do with whether I can see it or not. It's your two different contradictory claims that I'm trying to get you to explain to me how they work together.
No, these are entirely different claims, Jay. As I explained, and I'm going to explain again.
How is
I don't
something
know
an
how it's
analogy and not
accurate.
an analogy? You say it's contextual. What does that mean? That's not an explanation.
I already explained it like 2 times.
No, you haven't. You haven't explained anything. Explain it again.
Sure,
Because
repeat
nobody
what I
gets
said.
it.
Sure, repeat what I said, Jay.
You said it's contextual.
What
What does
did
that
I
mean?
say about contextual? Because I did mention, if you could go back in the recording, you could see that I said it
No,
twice.
I'm not here to do scribal recording of your bad arguments. I want you to give me the argument.
I mean, Jay Dyer, it's fine. I could
How does it work?
Wait, back
if
to
it's,
you if
if
you
it's
want.
obvious, state it again.
Sure. So when I say contextual basis, it's in the understanding that, for example, if God says, "Okay, I hold the sun and the moon in my hands," for example, yeah, we can
So you're
we
just
can understand
appealing
it
to
in a
another
contextual
analogy.
basis. Yeah.
You're just appealing to another analogy.
Okay. So what
Yeah.
you are
So you're not making an argument. That's why you're getting frustrated.
But
No, so-
the thing is, though, in Islam, from what I understand, oftentimes you guys are told, Muslims are told, that you're supposed to rationalize and understand something without actual any interpretation in order to actually rationalize it.
So-
It's very odd.
Wait, nada. Just let.
All right, so this is the issue here. Right? You guys keep suggesting that well, it has to be an analogy because it's a comparison between one thing and another, right? And I'm explaining that you can look at it in some way, shape, or form as an analogy, but I'm saying that it only ends at that certain part. When I say that, you keep repeating the sequence and the statement that that means necessarily that I do not know God. Yeah?
Correct.
And I'm only saying that I do not know the physicality of God. All you're saying is, listen, hey.
Okay,
Fly,
it
your
doesn't matter.
argument's-
It doesn't matter if you restrict it to non-physical propositions about God, because I don't even care about the physical claims. I'm not making an empirical argument. We're going to look at it in a purely rationalist way, right? You said you're a rationalist in this argumentation.
Correct.
Are the rational concepts in your mind about justice equated to the justice that God has? And you say no, there's dissimilarity. Right, I understand that. But for the propositions to have any meaning, there has to be some matchup between the object that you're referring to, namely God, and the concepts that are created that you're using. But
No, unless they're explained.
Islam says that there's no similarity between Allah and creatures or any kind of created thing.
Correct. And as I said, yeah.
So your
It doesn't- you
appeals
don't-
to
you
explain
don't-
this to context are not valid justifications.
So Jay, listen, you don't need to. Okay. So
You
I
appeal
get
to
what-
another analogy. It doesn't matter whether the analogy is empirical or non-empirical. It
It's
doesn't
not-
explain the argument.
Jay, I'm not presenting an analogy. I'm trying to explain to
You did
something
appeal
that
to a
you are
different
getting
analogy.
wrong.
You said, well, when Allah holds the sun and the moon in his hands, it's not physical. That's not answering the objection.
Jay, there are different. Okay, so I understand where you're coming from, mainly because you don't understand differences between the sifat and the asma. Okay, the attributes and the names. You are conflating the two and mixing them together.
It doesn't
And then
matter
you're
because you said there's no
you're
analogy.
wrong.
It doesn't matter. That doesn't answer the
So
objection.
no, it does matter because
How? How does it answer
this is
the
where you're wrong. You
objection?
presuppose that there needs to be an analogy. I'm saying no, there doesn't need to be an analogy.
Okay, then
You
the
can go
words
from-
don't match up to the object that you're describing.
No, if the object. Okay, so if the thing.
And
is
then what did
described-
you do? What did you do? You appealed to
Jay,
another
if the
analogy.
thing is described, Jay, if the thing is described, you don't need to know what the thing is.
Of course
That's
you do.
empirical.
That makes no sense.
Hey, you're using empirical things to try
What
and
is
talk
the
about
thing?
rationalism.
I'm not using any empirical thing. I'm looking at your arguments. Do you understand that I'm not even bringing an argument? I'm just looking at your two different claims. There's no
Yeah.
empirical anything involved in this.
Yeah, what I'm trying to tell you is that your
I said,
rebut or
do you
telling
think
me.
concepts? Hold on. Do you think concepts are empirical?
So I think no, I don't think concepts.
Okay,
are
so then I've never brought anything empirical into this. I've said, what is the concept of justice compared to the name Allah is just?
Okay, so when you say, all right, so I'm explaining to you that the empiricality where it comes in, because I know you're talking about concepts and that's a different thing, but I'm going to show you where you keep bringing in empirical things. For example, you say that because there is no connection in concept, therefore, yeah, it has to be this way because you don't know God, right? Or you don't know this. This is empirical. I'm explaining that if something you don't know what it is, you don't.
Do
know
you
the
understand that
concept,
I'm
right?
not making that
Explain-
argument?
Jay, let me
about
finish,
God?
please. Look,
No,
every time you
because
spoke,
it's
every
about
time you
your
spoke, I've been
system.
pretty nice.
What does Surah 42 say?
Even think-
What does your system say? It says that there's no similarity. I'm not making an
agree,
argument
yeah.
about my view.
I agree, yeah, but you are.
Okay, so
reaching
if
a
there's
false
no
conclusion.
similarity, then
Jay,
it's not a question of empiricism.
it is a question of empiricism because you are trying to say that my analogy doesn't make sense based off imperialistic claims.
No,
I
it's
will give
not.
you an
It's your
example.
own
Yes,
claim.
yes,
It's not.
yes, you
I'm
are,
not
and I'll
making a
explain
claim.
why.
All I'm doing
Jay,
is asking for you to make sense of two different things.
Jay,
When I asked for a justification, you just appealed to another analogy. You said
Jay,
Allah holds the sun and the moon in his hands. It's not empirical. I understand you're saying it's not empirical. Okay, agreed.
Not
But is it
just
still
that.
created?
No, not just that. I've explained that you are conflating two things. Yeah, you are saying that okay. First of all, these are the two issues that you are falling upon. You are saying that these attributes and the names are dissimilar are the exact same in understanding.
No, I'm not. I don't care what you argue on that. That's not my argument. It's not my argument, dude. That's a straw man. I'm not making this argument.
Jay, just deflecting on me back and forth is not gonna proceed with the conversation.
Do you understand that we're looking at your position? We're looking at your position.
Right, and I'm telling you, you are constantly interrupting and barraging with empirical stuff. So
all you're doing is replying to things. You're replying with things that don't apply to the argument.
Jay,
it's immaterial to my argument what you say about Allah and the essence and the attributes. Neither of those positions is going to affect the argument I'm making.
Jay, are you able to let me finish?
This is an argument on Tanzih.
Jay,
do you understand it's an argument on Tanzih?
Jay, am I able to finish it though?
If you're just going to talk in sophistry and circles, then no, I'm not going to let you finish. When are you going to address the argument and stop talking?
Right. Well, when I was about to, I don't understand why you're not letting me show you where the empirical problem is, because I think you know what it is. And
we're waiting. Go.
Okay, very good, Jay. Please don't interrupt me. As I was
Stop
saying,
debating about debating it. Just make your point, dude.
It says here. So in terms of the conflation of the area that you are doing, right? Not only when you mix these two up, you end up having to make this connection that you're talking about, but then you also, on top of that, require.
What are you talking about? What connection? None of this applies to my argument.
The conceptual connection that you're talking about. What do you mean? You're saying if there is no conceptual connection, then I don't know God fundamentally.
That's your position.
No, that's not my position. That's what you are trying to deflect.
Surah 42 says there's no similarity. You said there's no analogies.
Yes, there is no analogy. That doesn't.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. That's your position.
Jay, listen. You are saying that because I'm replying this way, this is my position. It's not my position. I'm trying to.
You just said it was your position, dude. You're talking in circles. Are there analogies or not? You said no. You said there's no similarity.
That's not what I'm saying, Jay.
This is the stupidest debate I've ever had.
I know, because you can't keep.
No, you don't answer any objection.
I am.
You're talking circles about things that aren't even relevant to the objection.
Jay,
can you state for me what my objection is, and then I'll let you proceed.
Okay, sure. Your objection is that fundamentally, because it's all analogical and there's a contradiction in this analogy, I fundamentally cannot know God.
And what is the argument that I'm making? What are the two things that I say contradict?
Okay, the two things that you say contradict is saying that because there is nothing like God,
right?
And me saying that there's only one similarity, which is the contextual thing, that is a contradiction. Yes.
Ultimately, yes, but there's more to the argument. Yes.
Well, so far I've made your point pretty clear. Now, can I be able to finish like you said?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, very good. All right. So, what I'm trying to explain here, okay, and because, like I said in the beginning, these things have to come down to very specific things, and I get it. It's difficult to explain. I get it. It's a little bit more complicated, and it's fine. We can go through it step by step. Yeah. So, what I'm saying is that first of all, there are two things. Yeah. So, there is something like in Islam called tamthil. Okay.
Yes. Right.
You know what tamthil is, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then something called takyif.
Mhm.
Yeah. And ta'til.
Right.
You know what these are. Okay.
Right.
So when we're doing tamthil, this is an incorrect process because when we say something is God is the just, yeah, and humans are just, okay. When I say that this contextual similarity is comparable to that of humans, I'm not suggesting that just in case you got that idea. I'm just suggesting that it was displayed in a way that
Okay,
humans.
you've never defined what contextual similarity means. You've never explained this.
Okay, so textual similarity is that essentially what it is a description that is given that could be understood by humans. Yeah. So
Okay,
if
so
God
when
calls
you're
it something-
understanding it, is it about God?
Excuse me?
When you're understanding the phrase or the sentence, is that about God as the referent of the sentence?
So this sentence is about God. This is how I understand it. Is that what you're asking?
Are the phrases and the sentences about God as the referent?
As the referent. Yeah, I would say so. So,
So are they picking out a subject and a predicate? A subject to predicate about?
Are they picking out a subject and a predicate?
Are the sentences picking out a subject, namely Allah, to make predicates about?
Okay, so I would say no predicate, predicates.
So you don't say anything about God. There's no predicates of God. You don't say that He's just. You don't say that He's merciful. You don't say any of those things.
No. So when it comes to
the Quran doesn't have sentences. The Quran doesn't have sentences.
No. I'm saying when it comes to sifat, yeah, there are no predicates. But in terms of names, yeah, they do have predicates. That's what I'm trying to explain.
So the names are picking out Allah, correct?
The names are what?
The names and the sentences are picking out Allah as the referent or not. This is really simple grammatical questions about, like, do the sentences in the Quran, are they about Allah?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they created?
The sentences themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure.
But the meanings of all those sentences do not in any way match up to Allah, right? So the word mercy, the word justice in those sentences, which is created, is in no way similar to Allah.
Yeah.
Then you don't know Allah.
Okay.
And the sentences have no meaning and they're worthless. That's the point.
No, Jay, this is the issue that I'm trying to point out. You're saying
your examples are your contextual response doesn't solve the question.
Here we go again. Jay, this is the thing that I'm trying to explain to you. You are saying that because it is something that we fundamentally do not know, that means we do not know God, regardless of all the explanations that's been given. I'll give you a very good example.
You didn't give an explanation. All you did was state that there's contextual similarity.
Jay, if you are in a room,
what is the contextual similarity?
Jay, if you are in a room, Jay, listen. We went from you trying to say, well, I don't know what you're saying, and then I ended up did know what you were saying. You said you'd let me speak. You did not. You cut me
You're
off.
not answering it. I did let you speak. You gave an answer. You gave an answer. You said contextual similarity is this, and I asked you about sentences, and you're saying that it doesn't apply to Allah.
Let me finish, please. Because at this point, if you're just gonna go back and forth every time you interrupt me,
you're not answering the objection
until you let me finish.
Are you going to answer the objection?
Yeah, once you let me finish, sure.
Dude, you've been given ample time. I'll let you finish. You keep saying you're going to let me finish. Where is the solution to the question? Because you're not answering it. I'm not just interrupting you to interrupt. You're not answering it. You're giving answers, but they don't answer the objection. Right. So just saying sentences is not giving an answer.
I'll answer to your objection.
I'm waiting.
Like I said, you have to let me finish.
I'm waiting.
That's the only rule.
If you say one more time, you have to let me finish. I'm gonna boo you. Just finish your freaking argument, dude.
Wouldn't be the first time. But so as I was saying, so in terms of you saying that, okay, well, if you fundamentally do not know God because of this, and that, I'm trying to explain that no, that is not the case. You don't need to know something inherently to know what something is. If it was described to you, you can still know it. For
Descriptions
example,
are analogical. Language, descriptors in language are analogies. And you're denying that. You just denied that when I asked you about sentences and predicates.
I know. I'm trying to give you examples from analogies so you can understand it better. I can.
You denied analogies. You denied them. What are you talking about?
No, I'm trying to explain to you the point of view that I'm trying to explain is in terms of not if you, because you say, okay, well, if you don't know this attribute, that means then you don't know God, right? And I'm trying to explain.
The argument applies to all the attributes. Do you understand the argument is to every attribute because they all are based on human predication in terms of language and names?
No, no, because these went.
Yes, because you said all the sentences in the Quran are created.
Yeah, I said sure, no problem. The text is created.
Right.
I didn't say God's words are created. That's an entirely different story.
Okay, so is there a similarity between God's words and the created Quran?
Is there a similarity? Yeah, sure.
Okay, so there is analogies.
There's only in the speech attribute, which is a sifa.
Okay, so you can say that, but that doesn't solve the dilemma of how the other attributes lose meaning. They don't have any meaning because you can't tell the one from the other. How do you tell mercy from justice go ahead.
They do have meaning because they're explained.
How are they explained?
Well, they tell you what it is.
That's created sentences. You just refuted yourself. Thank you. You just said they're explained and created sentences. Sentences are creatures.
I didn't say sentences are. When did I say sentences are creatures? I said
you said it about 5 minutes ago. You said the sentences in the Quran are created. You said the sentences in the Quran are created.
Oh, this is why I say specificality.
All right, you just contradicted yourself. Everyone in here heard you say the sentences in the Quran. Now you're lying. Now you're lying. Sentences in the Quran are created. You said the sentences in the Quran are created. Did you not? Did you say that?
Jay.
Did you say that?
Yeah, if you're talking about the sentences with ink, yeah, of course, ink is created.
What other sentences am I talking about? Are there uncreated sentences?
No, I'm saying God's words are uncreated things. The Quran is, you realize what's called the Quran,
I'm talking
right?
about the physical Quran with the sentences that you read. That's how you come to know it, right? That's the means by which you come to learn about the uncreated Quran.
No, not necessarily.
Okay, you can hear it. You can hear it. It's still created.
My main conception is that if you truly eat penis, does that make you a homosexual, or does that just make you bi-curious? Because if we look at the
this goes.
Did it?
Okay. So here.
You're just talking in circles, dude.
Yeah, it sounds to me like you're not understanding and making three suppositions. And
you said the sentences in the printed Quran are created. Obviously, they are. That's how you come to learn about Allah.
Not
So you look to creatures to learn about Allah.
Not necessarily.
Yes, necessarily, because the concepts that you get from the Quran are also created. You already admitted that, so you refuted yourself. Dude, you can sit there and giggle like all you want.
I told you, yeah, not necessarily, and your only response was yes, necessarily, and then you proceeded to just go on with the presupposition.
Because there's no argument that you've given to prove
how that was not necessary. That you have upon me. I'm trying to explain.
It's not necessarily because of your position in Tanzih. Surah 42 says there's no similarity between Allah and creatures in any sense.
I agree.
So then there's no similarity between the sentences in the Quran and the eternal Quran or Allah himself.
No.
Why are we supposed to just believe you ad hoc? Yeah, like
You're just going.
Get rid of
ad
this
hoc,
guy,
ad
man.
hoc,
The
ad
reason
hoc, ad
I'll
hoc.
explain
Slide.
why.
You're getting
Slide.
called out here.
You're not
Make
answering the question.
make a solid argument, or you're gone.
I'll tell you why I keep getting called out. It's because you have a cult following. I'm fine with that. I already told
Now
you.
here we go, the
there's
ad
a cult
hominem. So
following.
you can't
But
answer
when
the
I was
objection,
explaining,
and now you're going to
when
ad
I was
hominem.
Jay,
Yeah,
Slide.
you can't
Yeah,
answer the
look,
objection.
I would appreciate if you let me.
Stay on
Talking
topic,
about,
please.
dude.
That's fine. That's fine. I would
Answer
appreciate
the
if I-
objection, or I'm booting you.
As I was saying, well, as I was saying,
Come on.
yeah. Well, stop making me laugh. You're saying the most ridiculous things. Now,
I'm just
Stop the fake laugh and just make an argument.
Yeah, dude.
The
Just
fake
because
laugh
ad
isn't
hoc
doing
say
anything.
Something doesn't make it true, bro. Like, oh, the sky is
that's-
red, so it's red,
that's-
and it
that's
just is
fine.
because it just is, dude.
That's fine. No problem. I'm recording this too. If you want to look like zoo animals, I'm fine with that. Now, as I was saying before, horrible interruption.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I'm stern with you lot, but
Nah, dude, you're just smug and ridiculous.
Dude, nobody. This is a clown show. I mean, are you going to make an argument?
Just make an argument, dude.
Well, Jay Dyer, I know it is a clown show because he wouldn't let me finish. He
How
honking your horn every
embarrassing.
5
All right, you're gone. You're gone. This is done.
How much do you weigh?
He had
My
no
God.
argument.
My
It's so fake and sad.
ridiculous things I've ever seen.
Is it really this difficult to make an argument that you have to go on like 10-minute monologue about how mean we are and how we're animals?
Yes, because
you just make an argument.
Debate. This is what Muslims do. It's always the same.
Slide.
How much do you weigh?
What do
How
you
much do you weigh?
You're going you're like ad hominem a lot now.
No, here it's
I don't
this
know
is
why
all
you're-
about how we're told. He lost. It's over. He's done.
Yeah, like I did just like, can you stay on topic and answer the question?
Is he still in the chat?
No, I kicked him.
Saying there's similarity between a creature and the Sifa is shirk, by the way, so he literally fell into shirk when he said that.
Yeah, and
If I
he
just
DM'd
smuggle
me now.
it,
He said
like,
that
chuckle slightly.
this is exactly what I expected, and
Hey, do you wanna play out your
basically like he's gonna PM me and say you guys were mean to me and basically bullshit. Because he didn't want to come in here. I actually begged him a bit to come on. He was reluctant to come on. I told him to come on. I know why he was reluctant to come on. His position is ridiculous. I don't know.
So that's